All right, y'all. Today we're taking a look at this boudoir photography business. Gonna look at its local Google search, city Google search, see if it has BSS for either of them. So we're back here in the GBC universe. So we take declining boudoir photographers, make them into the #1 boudoir photographer in their city. As always, our North Star is FSIC, full spectrum intent capture. More of that, and like the pinned post or whatever featured post on this profile. And that's because FSIC explains why all boudoir photographers either rise or fall. So for Ryzen, we're probably getting everyone across the entire intent spectrum, the intent ladder here. High intent on the left, lowest intent over on the right. And if boudoir photographer, their business is falling, probably missing chunks of people here in the intent spectrum. So here we talk about way on the left, BSS. So we're focusing on the highest intent people, the people searching for boudoir photo shoots in their city right now on social media and in Google search. So closest to the money, easiest to close. And way over at the other end, that's the lowest intent people in our city. Got to reach them with interruption ads via Instagram and Facebook. Maybe they know what boudoir is. Maybe they've never heard of it. We got to educate them. And so that's what we talked about on our other brand, Boudoir FB Ad Doctor. We talked about BLCS. And right now we're only working with boudoir. Over there, we're only working with boudoir photographers, spending more than 10 grand per month on boudoir Facebook ads. All right, so boudoir search sameness, BSS. That's when a boudoir photographer has either 0 or 1 slots on Google, on page 1 of Google search for the highest intent keywords. So 0 slots, we're going to be dead soon if we got 0 slots on page 1. That's because we know approximately 80% of Google searches never go past page 1. They're page 1 only. So that means approximately 20% go to page 2 and deeper. So we care about this 80%, the bulk of the market. This is who we're going to focus on. So if we got 0 slots, we're invisible to 80% of the market, which means we're basically an invisible business. If we got 1 slot, we're still essentially invisible because we look the same as everyone else. If there's 10 organic slots page 1 on Google, if other peeps, if there's 9 other boudoir photographers than us, that means, we got 1 link same as everyone else, and a buyer's just going to go down page 1 Google search, control click, right click, open a new tab, everyone, shoot a message to everyone, get price quotes, compare pricing, and price shop everyone on page 1. But if we can get more real estate on page 1 and fewer competitors on page 1, we actually have price shop less. Now, 0 or 1 slots on page 1 on Google is not normal. It's extremely common, but it's not normal. It's actually the symptom of 2 deeper root causes. Those 2 deeper root causes are market saturation, which basically everyone knows about, and the previously unknown root cause, which we now know, is actually the false belief of page 1 equality. So market saturation, that's when someone gets a new phone, they are a new iPhone, they throw up their own Google My Business profiles, and then now shoot boudoir. They got their own website. They're trying to compete with us for page 1 Google supremacy. And as a result, we also got people getting a new camera, then they start posting the mom groups on Facebook, and they also offer boudoir photography. So market saturation means more sellers to the same number of buyers. That's literally what it means. It means it's harder and harder for each seller to win. So everyone understands also big market saturation happened during COVID. People couldn't work, people lost their jobs, and they had to, big flood of boudoir photographers came into the market then because people had to, because they needed to earn money somehow. Now, the previously unknown root cause, the second one, is the false belief of page 1 equality. And what that is, so the default belief of page 1 equality, which kind of people automatically accepted, they didn't really think about it because there was no term to actually describe it, is actually kind of assuming or just accepting that, every boudoir photographer gets either 0 or 1 slots page 1 on Google for their website, and if the market gets saturated, it pushes off page 1 to page 2, because some new websites ranking higher. Well, that's how it is, and that's simply how it is. Whatever, that's the game, and hopefully someone deletes their website, so maybe we can get back on page 1 and Google lets us back in. But no, that is 100% false. That is a false belief, and we have to simply accept that. What I've discovered is Google will actually give us as many links and slots on page one Google search as we want to put in the effort to acquire. And I use this strategy that we're going to talk about to go from 0 out of 10 slots on page one to 9 out of 10 slots on page one in Google search in 10 days. So we'll talk about that in like 3 or 4 more pictures here. Next up, we know that Boudoir photographer with BSS, Boudoir search sameness, is a disappearing Boudoir photographer. So if we got 0 slots on page one, we're on page two, we're invisible to the 80%, approximately 80% bulk of the market. Disappearing Boudoir photographer, we got disappeared onto page two. And if we're, one slot on page one of Google, then we're also disappearing because we're not visible. I mean, people don't see no difference between us and everyone else on page one of Google. Literally nothing different. And there's going to click and price shop plus everyone down page one. And again, approximately 80% of Google searches never even go to page two. So we don't got to worry. We literally don't have to worry about page one. And disappearing Boudoir photographer, basically it's the canary in the coal mine. If one becomes a disappearing Boudoir photographer, pretty soon thereafter, the boudoir photography business will disappear as well. But now we have a solution. So we now know that BSS is treated with social search saturation, aka our S-cubed methodology that we invented. And again, this is exactly the strategy, the methodology I use to go from 0 out of 10 slots on Google page one to 9 out of 10 slots on Google page one in 10 days. And this is the only strategy for boudoir photographers that I've seen that can actually successfully fight back and against market saturation and continue to grow market share. And so it works by, and we'll go deeper into it, but the name, social search saturation. We saturate social search for our highest intent keywords. There's kind of like the feeder rivers, small feeder rivers from the Andes Mountains and to the Amazon. And kind of all that reputation, the keyword dominance on search flows into the Amazon River, page one Google search, and the pages thereafter for what we want to rank for. And so, yeah, this is the only thing that I've seen that successfully fights back against market saturation and basically kind of makes it null and void. Because imagine we're in Las Vegas, imagine there's 1 million boudoir photographers total, we're one of them. Everyone's got a boudoir photography website, everyone's trying to rank on Google, page one Google. But if we crank up S-cube methodology to the maximum, and let's say we rank, the first 300 slots across all social platforms for search, and as a result, we also rank the first 300 slots Google for search for the highest intent keywords for boudoir photographer buyers. Then anytime a buyer in our city literally searches anywhere, most likely Google, 90% of searches still, approximately 90% of searches still happen on Google. Then we got the first 300 slots and there's 10 organic slots per page. We got the first 30 pages all to ourselves for the organic slots. And all the other competitors in organic, they start on page 31. No one's going to page 31. So even if the market's ultra saturated with 1 million boudoir photographers, whose business is still growing? Ours. Whose business is disappearing? All the other boudoir photographers, because they cannot be found. And guess what? Approximately 80% of Google searches never go to page two. They're page one only, which means we really only got to worry about page one and take as much, we say a GBC minimum of 3 out of 10 is what we want to take. But, S-cubed methodology gives us a pathway to take as many slots on page one as we want, if we put in the effort to acquire those slots. Now, once treated with S-cubed methodology, we have page one visibility. A bonus of this is every new slot we take on Google page one is we are kicking a competing boudoir photographer off page one, effectively making them invisible. Again, that's because we actually know that approximately 80% of Google searches never go to page two. They're page one only searches. And that's all we care about. This is the bulk of the market, the approximately 80% of searches that happen like this. Now, page one visibility activates boudoir search visibility for us. Now, our GBC recommended is always to hit 3 out of the 10 slots on page one, and that helps with boudoir search visibility because everyone else is going to have most likely 1 slot on page one. So when they see 3 versus 1, when buyers see 3 versus 1, they're instinctively going to say, wow, why is Google recommending this person so many different times? you know, I'll just go with this person that's got the 3 slots. There is a tiny, tiny, tiny chance that another boudoir photographer will have 2 slots, but in those tiny chances, our 3 slots will always overwhelm them. So that's why we want boudoir search visibility. And a boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility is a visible boudoir photographer, a VBP. So this is our full micro universe here. A disappearing boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness is caused by market saturation and the false belief of page 1 equality. We now know it's false, but when people believed it prior, they never thought to try a solution to overcome it because they thought it was just the default, just how it is. But we've proven, we'll see in the next picture, proven that that's incorrect. We now have the path, we now have the solution, our own proprietary S-cubed methodology to achieve page 1 visibility, become a visible boudoir photographer, and to have boudoir search visibility. So my results using S-cubed methodology for myself. So I want to rank for the term BLCS boudoir. So I employed S-cubed methodology. Go down to the organics here. So we got organic slot 1, Instagram, me. Slot 2, me. Slot 3, me. Slot 4, me. Slot 5, me. Slot 6, me. Slot 7, me. Slot 8, me. Slot 10, me. So I went from 0 out of 10 slots to 9 out of 10 slots, Google search page 1, in 10 days, exclusively using S-cubed methodology. And I was using on the minimum setting, like kind of the minimum, kind of the minimum frequency. So you can see the results that I got. All right, now to the main event here. You can see that this boudoir photography business has BSS, boudoir search sameness for the local search, for their local search and their city search. So, all right. All right, so let's see what we got cooking here. So we gotta go down to the organic. So this is the local Portage Park. All right. All right, let's see. Nope, nope. All right, there we go. See him right there. We got one. All right, so we got 1 out of 10. Dude, we got BSS. Got local, for local search, we got BSS. We got 1 out of 10 slots. Google page 1. All right, let's go to city search now. Chicago, ill. All right, so scrolling, looking. Nope, nope. All right, dude, we're at 0 out of 10. So 1 out of 10 for local, 0 out of 10 for city. So it means we do have BSS for both of them, which means we are not hitting the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 for both local and city. All right, so if you're a disappearing boudoir photographer, meaning you've done your local search or city search with the highest intent boudoir buyer searches, and you had BSS for one or both of them, or you did not meet the GBC recommended minimums of 3 out of 10 slots, page 1 of Google search for either one or both of them, and you've accepted that the false belief of page 1 equality is actually a false belief, and you understand, well, now we can actually go and grab and take as many page 1 Google slots as we want. Way better than ads, because Google PPC, I believe the max we're getting is one PPC slot, even if there's 4 or 5 slots available. And once stop spending on ads, that momentum dies. With S-cubed methodology, there is still some momentum that continues after. It's not infinite, but there is still momentum that continues after. And you're saying, okay, S-cubed methodology is perfect for you. It's the way forward. You've been waiting for something like this. You want those initial benefits, more slots, page 1 on Google. And actually, you really also like the sound of the second initial benefit, which is kicking off your competitors off page 1 on Google, putting them down to page 2. And you actually, you understand the market saturation. Yeah, people get new gear, more boudoir photographers coming over time. But you're actually looking ahead and you're saying, man, AI is taking people's jobs already. So you know it's going to happen more and more and more and more. And so you're like, and actually, not only is new gear going to bring more boudoir photographers into the market, but actually the largest portion of new peeps entering the market will be AI taking their jobs. They still need to earn money. And as a result, they turn turn to become boudoir photographers. Everyone's got an awesome smartphone with great camera, so flood the market. So you're saying, so you realize, hold on, you actually need to also fortify your position page one on Google. Have so many links of yours Google wants to rank page one that Google actually holds them in reserve off on like page two, to where current boudoir photographers essentially cannot even rank page one, and neither can the new entrants that would mostly be coming from AI taking their jobs, can essentially no longer rank on page one. And you're saying, okay, the only viable way you can see that happening is also with SQ methodology. And you're liking those benefits, and you're actually liking looking ahead where doing this SQ methodology is building up these basically invisible thematic keyword columns plugged into your brand, in digital cyberspace, under your brand name, website name, social handles, and kind of basically building up back-end AI mindshare in the AI brain. Every single day we successfully execute SQ methodology together. And every single day that happens, we're increasing the probability Google, all these manual search places will recommend us an AI overview, the #1 most premium placement that we cannot pay for, and be the only one recommended here, right at the top. So you're seeing everyday SQ methodology builds up building up the keywords, kind of age, repetition, authority, grouping, relevance, all building up this backend AI mindshare to increase the probability we show up. We're displayed on this AI overview, and also increasing the probability that we show up for every standard AI search in the AI search apps, ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, and Microsoft Copilot, Google Gemini. You actually understanding it serves a dual purpose for these AI systems, front-facing, standard search, but also AI search. And last time I did AI search for a boudoir photographer in a city, it recommended 3. This was with ChatGPT. And I went to that city and manually looked, and I was Google and Facebook, and I was able to find like 60. It's like, man, we got to find a way to get recommended here if AI search is only recommended 3. And you're seeing it. SQ methodology is the only solution out there for boudoir photographers that has the highest chance of giving that benefit. And you're also seeing that, you understand, since my plan is to only work with one boudoir photographer per city, that you understand you decide you're going to be a first mover to jump on this, because then you can actually prevent all your competitors from getting it. You get all the benefits, more links page one, kicking more competitors off page one, making them disappear in the short term, and most likely in the long term. Higher chance of being shown AI search, AI overview, approximately 8x faster building a brand, and basically building a massive gap between you and all your current competitors and potential future competitors coming when AI is taking people's jobs to this back-end AI mindshare by executing SQ methodologies successfully every single day. And you're also seeing the converse. If a competing boudoir photographer in your city jumps on this first, then as a result, you'll actually be frozen out. They'll begin the benefits. They'd begin more slots on page one. They'd be kicking you off page one, maybe even kicking off you page two as well if we could do enough links. So you could be off page 3 or deeper. They're building up this AI backend AI mindshare momentum. They're building out their brand approximately 8x faster than you, and just building a massive, massive gap between me and your competitor and you. And so you would then have to rederive SQ methodology all on your own, or at least derive it in the first place, the first time for yourself. And you'd have to, you'd never feel 100% confident you've actually derived it correctly, because you'd never actually know. And then you'd have to equal our output every single day. And when you equal output every single day, you would simply be maintaining the gap me and your competitor have already built up against you. So you'd actually have to 2 to 3x our output every single day. And when that happens, you probably won't even feel confident to put in the time to do that, because again, you would not feel 100% confident you've even derived the strategy correctly in the first place. And who's even got 80 hours a day to do all this? So you realize now, you're saying that you're like, screw that. I'm going to be the first mover in my city. I'm going to prevent every other boudoir photographer from my area from doing this. I cannot, afford to miss this. Then shoot me a DM. My DMs are currently closed. The hospital is currently closed to new patients. But when I do open my DM, shoot me a DM. And what we will do is we'll see if you qualify for utilizing our SQ'd methodology.